Welcome back to Calling the Audible. Past mid-season, we are on episode 6. It is once again Iggy Magnets joined again. He didn't leave. He's staying here. He enjoyed the experience, although anxiety-inducing. It is Jerome Hovington joining us this week. Hello, Jerome.
Hello, Iggy. How have you been?
I've been good, but last week's show was interesting. But Omar made us look brilliant, and of course, he made you look even better than I think than what I saw on camera. He made you look even better, but you did a great job.
Yeah, well, it was kind of terrible while it was happening, but Omar did some great edits to make it look like I was actually decent at it. So thank you, Omar, for that.
Yeah, that was good stuff. So look, we're gonna dive right in. Just some league announcements first. Keep it short and sweet here. Articles, of course, since we're kind of past the midseason, but midseason report cards are a massive endeavor for our article writers. Some of them split it into two, part one, part two. So if your team wasn't talked about in a week one version or part one report cards, you'll be talked about in part two. Jerome, Division B, were you able to Division A 5v5, how did you break down your midseason report cards?
Yeah, I haven't posted it yet. Actually, I've written for the Division A. I'm done with Division A, but I'm still finishing up the 5v5 one. So it's probably going to be out Saturday. I'm going to finish it up tomorrow, probably after work. Yeah, it's long. I probably should have done one for Div A and one for 5v5. Now I'm kind of stuck in this, like, in a position where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna put out one. It's just gonna take a little bit longer, but it should be a pretty good article. So there's that.
All right, good stuff. So there's articles, mid-season report cards up and coming. Again, just because Thursday seems to be the day that we get thunderstormed and showered on in the outdoors, Laval, of course. Hopefully, look, it's a little cloudy outside, but there's still some sun coming out. So hopefully, we can literally weather the storm. But of course, we do have thunderstorm rules in effect where if there's thunder and lightning, I think like between 30 seconds of each other, the game is forced to pause for 20 minutes. Which, if it's like your game's at 8 o'clock and that happens at 8:01, that like any delay that's 20 minutes or longer, which is the case with thunder and lightning, you have to postpone for 20 minutes, automatically gets postponed. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight outdoors, Laval. But in more pressing news, Jerome, what was the video of the week going around FPF this week?
Yeah, so it was Nicolas Knez, I believe, who absolutely murdered Mike Pierson. Chris made a great edit with the music, with the the black and white filter, and with the rain that was going on there. Oh my god, it was a great edit. I just feel bad for Mike, to be honest.
And the funniest thing, that was edited on Wednesday and posted on Wednesday, and that same Wednesday night, Chris was throwing to snapper Mike.
Oh Lord.
Luckily, it didn't affect his game too much. Pass whooping, and Chris Rive and Mike Pierson were able to get the very big victory over Plenty of Fish. Very entertaining game. We'll get to Co-ed 1 a little later, but definitely another week full of upsets, beat downs, and everything in between, and that's what we're here going to break it down. We're going to try it one more time. We're going to start with Division E. Jerome, hopefully I don't lose internet like last week, but this week with Division E, we're going to start with the flag dealers here. Right now they're not sitting too hot in the in the standings. I believe 0 wins on the season. I believe, as where it's going to come up here in just a second, I believe their record is 0-5-1 right now. So as we just bring up the standings here, flag dealers, yeah, 0-5-1, 111 points for, 195 against. They have the 1 point because of the tie. But if you deep dive into this team, you see that Nirosh Suresh, and of course you covered him a bit in the articles last season, I believe.
Yeah.
He's putting up crazy numbers, right? 470 yards, 9 TDs, all through 4 games. So, what do we make of flag dealers here? Their recipe during the regular season isn't really converting into wins, with leaning heavily on one receiver. Does this team make playoffs? They have 0 wins right now. Is it a team that makes playoffs with this recipe? Do they have to switch things up? What's your take here, Jerome?
Um, First of all, I think this team is not as bad as their record is. They were pretty close in most of the games that they've played. They lost by 6 to Cavaliers du Rohan. I believe they won against CT Goons, but forfeited the game. A tie versus Cardigans, 2 point loss to the Diddlers. They're a good team, and the offense hasn't been terrible. Obviously, Nirosh probably too good to be playing in Division E at this point, but yeah, I mean, if they're to make the playoffs, they're going to need to win at least 2 games, which is probably going to be the cutoff. And with their tie, they're probably going to make it if they win 2 games. And they play head tops only, which is a very winnable game. Another winless team, and they also play Bum City in the last week, week 10, who are also winless. They're probably going to lose the 2 other games in week 8 and 9 versus Swiffer Wet Jets and Chomedy Chose. They have a chance in those games, but if they win those 2 games versus Head Tops only and Bum City, they're going to make the playoffs, and that's also a team to potentially look out for come playoff time.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think they have. It's you never want to say automatic wins, but I do see 2 wins, that are in favor of flag dealers here. But I wouldn't count them out against Swiffer Wet Jets, a very athletic team, of course, undefeated as well in Division E. Great start to their FPF careers. Very athletic. Don't know the game just yet, but that's absolutely normal. But very athletic and use that athleticism to basically just man up teams, and like they have like 5 defenders deep that can just man you up. Let's see how that works against flag dealers. And then Shamini Shode's flag dealers. Flag dealers, like you said, they can put up the offense. They put up 36 in a loss to Diddlers, 24 in a loss to Baby Sharks, 27 in a tie, 24-0 a couple times. So a couple times being maybe forfeits in both, in if not one, both of those games. So look, this is a team that can put up the points, and against Shamini Shodes, that's going to be another 37-36 kind of outcome where whoever has a better convert rate might just end up winning that one. So, yeah, I think they make playoffs. Do you think it's a recipe for success for playoffs to be heavily targeting one receiver?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a player as good as Nirosh Suresh, obviously you want to use him as much as possible. But obviously, teams will adapt to that. Like if QB Roy Khalil is forcing the ball too much to him, like teams are just going to bracket him, and it's going to make it tough for him. But they do have other receivers that can make a difference, like Mark Haddad, who's also got 32 targets, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's also a very talented player that can have a big game in Division E. So it's not that it's a bad strategy, but if the other teams aren't able to cover your best receiver, why wouldn't you just throw to him?
Yeah. Yeah, I pretty much agree with you there. There is some depth on the team. I'm just surprised. There's like 2 things that stand out to me, right? It's quarterback Roy Khalil, 16 interceptions. That's very high for through 6 games. 19 TDs is not bad, but the 16 INTs. And on the other end, defensively, 1 interception through 6 games. So yeah, yes, the sacks are there, right? 13 plus 3, 14 sacks. That's good, and there's probably some turnover on downs included in there. but you got to create turnovers and then capitalize with points off of those turnovers. And they're not getting any turnovers from interceptions, and when they do, it looks like Roy Khalil is turning the ball over himself a lot. So definitely some areas of improvement for flag dealers, but Jerome and I both think they're making playoffs. So now looking at the rest of Division E, mainly at the top of the standings, we have two teams with 5 wins right now. I believe both teams are sitting at 5-2. You have but Toon Squad, sorry, at 5-1. Warriors at 5-2. Bulls Shy at 5-1, and No Brain No Gain sitting at 5-1. Jerome, who's the best 5-win team in your opinion?
Yeah, so I put down some words on each team, and mostly about the teams that beat them. When it comes down to like the best teams in divisions, you're trying to look at matchups like who did they lose to, like
Yeah.
against the best team, how did they perform? And Toon Squad lost to No Brain No Gain, but the No Brain No Gain lost to the Creamsicles in a game that wasn't like it was
Yeah.
very bad, which is
Yeah, I
kind of
saw
weird.
that.
You're
Yeah.
like yeah, you're probably expecting No Brain No Gain to win that one. That's their only loss in the season. Maybe it's a one off, not sure. But if we simply go off like performances, I think it's got to be Toon Squad. You look at differential. Obviously, they have the best defense of these teams, allowing only 87 points through 6 games, and they also scored 194. They have a solid offense. It's not amazing. Charles Presser, like 26 touchdowns, very solid in 6 games for Division E. 8 interceptions, though, and 5 sacks, not amazing, but their defense has been absolutely killing it with, how many is that? 14 interceptions through 6 games
Yeah.
and 13
Yeah.
sacks from Jeremy Steinberg, of course. So yeah, you look at this, you're like, defense usually in Division E, especially, it's how you win championships. And this season, I think they could really make a push come playoff time. And they lost to No Brain No Game by 2 points in week 1, but ever since then they've been dominant.
Yeah, I agree there. Toon Squad definitely one of those teams that is not making too much noise during the regular season. They might this is a team that I wrote in the article. They could end up going 10-0, and this is a regular season will be about more important than the 10-0 will be about gaining experience, gaining reps, seeing different game situations, and knowing how to handle it the next time they are in that same position. And just that, and that's essentially what gaining experience really means, is knowing what to do and not panicking in the situation because you've already been there before. For me, I'm looking at Bullshy. I like what this team has presented them so far. Brand new team to FPF and sitting at 5-1. Very athletic. Uh, in fact, we had two guys who got to shout it out. I did very briefly in the posting of my article. Olivier Guérin, I believe, and Gabriel Mutombo played in 5v5 competitive. Played with me with the Braves, and didn't like. Obviously, they weren't the best players out there because you're suiting up against James Drysdale, Serge Pilon, and JD
Right.
Chevalier, but they did very serviceable work. Like Olivier Guérin caught a huge go ball with like 20 seconds left in the game to get us a first down, went out of bounds, like to stop the clock, like made a very, very nice catch along the sideline. So both Shy definitely have a lot to work with here. They are putting up the points, 200 points in 6 games. There's 60 of those points are from a forfeit, so 140 in 5 games is still impressive. And when I looked at how those two players were doing, the ones that subbed in for Braves, they're not even at top of their own team. You have Joseph Willette with 245 yards, eight touchdowns. Your next leader in touchdowns, William Boisseau. Defensively, again, Olivier Guérin, three interceptions. Gabriel Mutombo, two interceptions his way. They you can tell it's a very athletic team. Seven PDs between those two guys, but it's Jeremy Cole and Isaac Ladoussa who have combined for 8 interceptions with this team. So definitely defensively, offensively, even the quarterback Mathis Sardina, 3 interceptions in 6 games. That's really good numbers. Half an interceptions through average per game. That's some good stuff. You're protecting the football and you're creating turnovers. I really like very much like what you said with Toon Squad. I like what Bullshy present here as a brand new team in FBF.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing is like how big their roster is, and as they move up divisions, it's maybe going to be a bit of a question of okay, who do we keep and who do we maybe like tell them like yeah, we need less players because they have so many players that they're not playing enough. Like they brought a whole football squad to a flag football game, so
Yeah.
it's something that we've experienced where you have to cut players at some point and it kind of sucks, but we'll see. I mean, this is definitely a team with a lot of potential that could make a splash in higher divisions eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a team to watch out for. And then in this past week, Jerome, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what was more surprising. We had Queens put up 50 points on CTE Goons. Uh, Impressive. Uh, or are you more impressed that the Stables were able to put up 42 points against Best Worst Gust one day after a big loss, 38-19 to the Texas Whales, which actually for Division E, of course, the Stable saw that. I have played a couple games in Division E with the Texas Whales, so Division E, I'll be seeing you a little bit on the field here and there. Looks like they, after suffering a loss, Texas Whales losing. No, name's escaping me. George Spano. After losing George Spano to injury, we're looking for a replacement option and looked no further than Iggy Magnets. 2 interceptions in 2 games. now Nicolas Couture is calling me the lockdown corner. Kind of funny. So what was more impressive to you there, Jerome?
Yeah, I think the Queens game was interesting because they played CT Goons, which is not a terrible team, and it was Felix Derry who was just absolutely dominant that game. The Queens quarterback, he didn't have a great. I mean, not that it was bad, but 8 completions, 100 yards, and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not amazing, but he got 2 picks on defense, and he ran for 96 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah, so it's impressive, but is it repeatable? Is this something that's was it just like the matchup with the rusher that was so advantageous that he
Right.
that he could dominate? Usually, when you look at quarterbacks, you really want to look at like uh, how they are when passing the ball. And yes, it's impressive, but it's maybe not as repeatable as the performance for Stables from Devin Cruiser, who has had some absolutely great performances recently. 17 completions, 26 attempts, very good completion percentage, 217 yards, very impressive, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like those are some stats that you see like in higher divisions, like from the best quarterbacks, like week to week. And he's got another 8 touchdown, 0 interception performance. He's got a performance with 199 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interception. There is definitely something there with Devin Cruiser that I think we need to look out for. And maybe we're looking at like maybe one of the an upcoming quarterback that could really like become one of the top QBs in FBF. Like all the stats are there.
Yeah. I played against him, like I said, and even though like they didn't have a great game, losing 38-19, I told him I'm like, there's you got potential. Like I saw some good things in his game. A bit of the score line led him to go deep way too much and way too often. And just talking to they a lot of the guys stuck around after the game and asked for a bit of advice. I'm like, guys, just keep it short. Keep your short game. we were giving you the short 7 yards. We knew you were gonna go deep. We were like cover. We were playing cover four. I never call cover four. I'm like, okay, look, guys, we're just gonna drop four deep. I'm like, you. The times they were taking 7 hooks and running upfield, they were gaining like 12 to 15 yards at a time because tackling is hard in at the beginning in Division E. It's not like automatic. So missed tackles here and there. They were gaining like 15 yards on like 5 yard hooks. So I'm like, you should have kept that going instead of forcing the ball deep, which was like he was hitting 20-30% of the time. That's not a great conversion rate. Whereas like you're saying, 17 of 26, 217 yards, 6 touchdowns. Like yeah, those are impressive stats. And I told him like there's potential, and he showed it the very next night. So it's good for them for turning it around from one day over to the next. Speaking of turning it over, we're gonna go and turn the page over to Division B. We're gonna kind of keep the same sequence as last week, as it's proving to be going better than last week so far. Jerome, Division B. I was kind of sad that I got kicked off and booted off my own show here, because I wanted to talk Division B with you, because very interesting division now that all the teams make it for playoffs. So it's really about bettering yourselves and seeing how teams adapt, how they play, their style of play, what works, what doesn't. And right now, one of the top storylines in Division B has got to be the quarterback inconsistency, namely from two teams. You got the Bruins and the Infantry. Bruins, have options at quarterback within their core, right? You got Rocco Cristiano, Gab Wiseman, you got Gab Champagne, who wanted to go at it. Vero is there but injured, so we understand that the confusion there. But on the other side, you got the Infantry, who started with Zach Stacy, is going to be leaving town, so he decided he didn't want, or would be missing playoffs at least, so wanted to give them stability at quarterback elsewhere. They go through the free agent market, look for Jeans Lee Alexis. Is there for 1 or 2 games, isn't there the next game. They get Will Power. How's that going to work? Oh, he's just going to put up 53, 56 points, whatever it was. Just carve out the easy W defense. So in your eyes, Jerome, do you have any concerns with either team here, Bruins, Infantry, with who they go with at playoff time? Will they get enough chemistry? Does that even matter? What do you think?
I think for Infantry, it's pretty simple. It's going to be Jean Alexis. He missed one game, which, it's all right. But ever since they made the switch, he's missed that one game. It's fine, but he's going to be there for the rest. I think he's going to be there for the rest. I think he's the QB for them, and that's a very, very, very good quarterback to have in Division B, especially since you're adding him on defense, which is always something that's going to come with having Kingsley. And they lost to Heavenly Suns with him, but they still put up 39, which was a very good performance. He's at 124 QB rating. He's not a perfect quarterback, but he's very good. And he's probably better than Zach Stacy is at this point. Obviously, William Powers' performance versus EZW, which is one of the best defenses in Division B, he just went off. And maybe some of the guys were like, probably like, oh, maybe we should have went for Will instead of,
Yeah.
especially Rory Submergent, who definitely hasn't had his best connection with his QBs this season. But with Will, he was cooking, and yeah, I mean, they're still a very good team with Jeans Lee, but I think they might regret not asking Will to be full time. And as for Bruins, it's a tough situation with the actual cap right now, and with the players who not shown up at all. Talk about Gab Champagne, who's played one game so far with 5 games remaining, which means he can only miss one game. It's the exact same case for Marvin Steinberg, only one game played so far. Um, yeah, now
the roster is like an issue here. It's like this is gonna be a problem for this team, and somehow they're 4-1. It's like, what is going on? How is this possible? So,
Well, they just picked up the best players that they could and was like, we're just gonna throw a random roster every night, and it's worked. And Rocco is the solution at quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback. This team, like that's it's clearly their best option. Um, but they're probably going to have to drop one of Gab Champagne or Marvin Steinberg,
Right.
if
Yep.
because I assume that Chris Vero is going to be back, and he'll get an injury exception. He'll be back for the playoffs, and they won't be able to fit both Gab and Mike and Marv and Mike and Chris if he's not if he's not back. I mean, you have to drop one of Gab or Marv, and then the question is which one do you drop? Oh, and we lost the no way. No way this happened again. Well, Iggy left again, and at least he didn't leave me on Division E this time. So as I was saying, they're probably going to need to drop one of Gab or Marv, and regardless, either or is going to have to show up at least for their last five remaining games, which might be tough. But then again, they're still a very good roster. They're still good as long as Rocco's throwing. I think the question is just going to be who's actually going to be eligible for the playoffs. But regardless, this team has way too much talent to they can put up a very good roster every night, no matter what. When will a Ben McMahon team get a team defense, and where does he rank as a QB in Division B? Yeah, so it hasn't been so great for Heavenly Suns so far this season. They're 3-3. They lost to EZW, they lost to Kiss My In-Laws, and now they lost again to One Stop. But in all those games, Ben McMahon has been really solid. 28 touchdowns, one interception, and only been sacked 5 times. 74% completion, 126 QB rating. He's been great. But the question has been regarding the defense. Obviously, James Drysdale, one of the top defenders in FPF, 2 interceptions in 4 games, but now there's a concern that he might not play for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And the rest of the roster just doesn't look great defensively, and it's going to be a question as that Ben is going to have to ask himself when building his rosters. Do I want to win? Do I want to stay with my friends? Or do I want to build the best roster to win? Do I eventually want to go in Division A, Division 1 in winter? And the truth is, he probably can score with lesser offensive weapons than he currently has, and he really needs to build his roster based on the defense. He needs to have a roster that's built to get stops. And unfortunately for Heavenly Suns, it's just not the case this season. And Ben's gonna have to be perfect if he wants to win, if he wants to go far in the playoffs. So who would my vote be for defensive player of the year if we were only considering the rushers? Okay, so far rushers haven't had that much of an impact on the season. Leading right now is Gab Wiseman with 7 sacks in 5 games. We also have JC Ferland with 6 sacks in 6 games. Ethan Adrian with 1 PD in 6 games, and Zachary Albert Gills with 5 in 4 games. So if it were to end right now, defensive player of the year for rusher would definitely be Gab Wiseman. He leads in sacks. He's done it in less games than GC and Ethan. But if we are to go for by the end of the season, who I think would win, I think it's going to be Zachary Alberts-Gill. And that's based on the fact that the matchups so far haven't favored him, and he still has 5 sacks. So far, he's played Zach Stacy. Okay, that's a sackable rusher, but then he had to play Alexandre Fafard, Beverly Brigade. Still got sacks. Had to play Gab Wiseman, throwing for Bruins. Didn't get a sack in that game. And then versus Heavenly Suns, Ben McMahon, very tough matchup. But now he's gonna face Silent Ticklers. He's probably going to be able to sack Jordan Panetta. This is a more attainable matchup for him. And same thing for Jeremy White in Week 10. So I think he'll end the season with maybe 13 to 14 sacks, and you really ramp it up near the end of the season to end the season as the best rusher. Okay, let's talk about the receiver of the year discussion in Division in Division B. Obviously, I'm very into this one because I'm currently leading in touchdowns. I'm, you know, seventh in yards at 312, but things have started to ramp up. Nicolas Curotte, who, despite his team starting 0-6, has 416 yards and 10 touchdowns. Oh no, that's 441 yards and 10 touchdowns. And Anthony Drysdale for Heavenly Suns with 416 and 10 as well. Marc-André Lapointe with 353 and 10. Charles-Olivier Vachon with 343 and 10. So yeah, this race is starting to become a bit more close. I still think I'm gonna win it. Uh, Obviously, Iggy's gonna need to keep throwing me the ball, and maybe some teams will adapt to how I've been playing, to our connection, and it might become harder for me. There are other players that could also be making a push. Alexandre Barros, who won Receiver of the Year in Division Three last winter. He has a great connection with this QB Jeremy White. Now the question is, do I believe that anyone is going to be able to surpass me? And the answer is no. I think I'm going to keep cooking and I'm going to win this. Let's talk about QB of the year then. I was talking about Ben being probably the best QB stats wise this season with 28 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 sacks, 126 QB rating. He's been great. And I've seen a real improvement in how he plays the game, how he exploits like opposing defenses. He's really taking what is given to him more than he did in seasons past, and that's really propelled his game to another level. And especially with his ability to move the ball with his feet, he hasn't ran as much as in past seasons, but he's still he's still he's still getting some yards, like getting some fourth down, some first down conversions with his feet. He's always a nightmare for opposing rushers. Jeremy White, you know, not his greatest season. He hasn't been as great as he was in seasons past. Obviously, the game versus Infantry was a
Yeah.
total disaster.
3.
Oh, Iggy's back.
Oh my God! So someone knows we film on Thursdays and is sabotaging the podcast.
You know who I think it is? Mo
Who do you
Khan.
think? It it could be Mo. Mo is we can slightly rule that out because he is working the Alouettes game. He is it's the home opener for the Alouettes. He is at Percival Molson Stadium. Him and many FPF refs are there because I know you're talking about Division B player, quarterback of the year, and you acclaimed yourself very vulgarly as the receiver of the year. You claimed yourself that award, but
Yep.
a lot of people like to crap on the refs. Our refs like ref in the CFL, so just saying that you don't get that many places. But continue.
Yeah. Talking about the refs, I think we have a very good refs in this league. Obviously, there are some more than others, in my opinion, but every ref knows the rules. Some have their own. They're all human after all, and they have their own personality and their own way of seeing the game, seeing some calls, and that's absolutely fine. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if you compare them to other recreational sports, FPF has like some of the best refs like possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to talk about Ben McMahon,
Yeah.
who you thought has been great. Of course, seeing his stats, but his defense is always letting him down. And
Yes.
it's is it the roster building? Is it just a question of do they care enough, or are they just not at that level defensively?
I think it's a mix of all of that, right? There's some guys more committed than others. Not maybe like like half the team is probably fully invested. The other half not as much. I think it's not crazy to say. I think all or most of the players, and then this is almost true for every FPF player, but like enjoy playing offense more than defense. Um, I mean that's the kind of the other thing. They are good on offense, so that they're almost like, well, we're so good on offense that. But that's the thing. Division B, everyone's like that. It's like everyone has such a good offense. You can't just rely on your offense to win you games. You do need at least one, hopefully two stops in a game. Once it's at two stops, you kind of make the onside useless at that point. But yeah, that's kind of been the calling card for all Ben McMahon teams is that he's got to score one more point than his opponent. Like whether that's
Yeah.
50 to score 51 or like an 18 to score 19. So yeah, this is nothing new. But where the question was, where does he rank as a Div B QB?
Um, I'll go with tiers. I think he's definitely that A tier, alongside Jay White, yourself, and probably Jordan Panetta.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a B tier with maybe Ginsley, Mike Caparelli, Alexandre Fafal. I'd put Rocco in that A tier as well, where there's a clear distinction between the better and the slightly worse quarterbacks in Division B. Where would I rank him? As high as first and not lower than third.
As high as first.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I mean, I would put Jordan Panetta at number one. And then I think between him, myself, and Jeremy White, it's like super small, razor thin. And you might go McMahon over the two of us, White and myself, just because he's the better runner of the two and can scramble like as a six option. He can take off and beat the rusher, whereas like Jeremy White used to be able to really beat rushers and take off downfield and run 40 yards for touchdowns. He's not there anymore. You can still make a rusher miss, but he's still looking for pass first. And so am I. I can make the rusher miss on occasion and then still look to be throwing and then get like a 6 yard run. But Ben McMahon has the
yeah.
ability, has that electric ability to scamper down for 20, 30 yards downfield for touchdowns. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he's as high as number two for me, and then somewhere at like 4 or 5, low.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think Panetta is like a Div A quarterback throwing in Div B. Like this guy has he could be is a hot take. And I have a few hot takes today, but he could be, with Kevin Wyeth not being here, I think he poses the biggest threat to Joe Mayer is Jordan Panetta.
I think you're making a stretch there. I mean, we
I don't.
Dan Lazara exists. Dan Lazara exists.
Yeah. No. Like Lazaro is already up there. I'm saying like the next guy. Not obviously Lazaro's already there though. He's already pushing Mayer. He's already there.
Right.
But the next guy to do it is Panetta.
You don't think Ben could do that? I think he could.
No, and there's
You-
no shot at Ben. I'm not there either. I'm not saying I am. We're not at that level. We can maybe get there eventually, but it's just another level of football.
yeah,
It's
of
in
course.
the we have the same way of viewing the game, play calling. We don't have the arm that Joe Mayer does and Jordan Panetta does.
True, but I think Ben has improved his arm. He's throwing
Yeah.
it like he threw some great balls against us. That like you saw how disappointed I was that he got some balls like uh, that I just couldn't reach. Made some great throws to
Yep.
Owen Bajarski, and he's got the arm talent, and he hasn't been playing high divs as long uh, as these other QBs, but his progression has been like steadily improving every season. And from a guy that started in the lowest divs and that has come this far, I mean, there's no reason why he couldn't make that jump to Division One, Division A pretty soon.
Yep. Yep. Fair enough. Um, did you finish? Did you do DPOY and
Yeah,
Did
well,
you? What did you
yeah,
do?
well, I talked about how I'm going to win receiver of the year, and there's nothing that can stop me.
Okay.
Now, but seriously, you talked about the rushers, and like the truth is that rushers haven't been great this season in Division B. Like,
Yeah.
there's no like truly dominant rusher. Like we talk about Ethan, Zach, Gab Wiseman, GC. Like, they're all very good. Like, they're all getting 1 sack a game, but there's no like dominant rusher so far. And I thought that you know like who could win it? I think Zach probably has the best shot of winning it. After probably playing maybe under his expectations or having some tough matchups versus some QBs that that like those very shifty QBs like Ben or Fafol. And I think he's gonna make a push for that Rusher DPOI award.
All right, good stuff there. We'll shift over there to Division A and 5v5, if you let me. Well, we'll start with Division A. Uh, Jerome, like I mentioned at the top of the show here, you're writing the articles for Division A 5v5. In Div A, what's been the story of the season so far?
It's got to be Mangoose.
Okay, what about Mangoose?
They're 4-2 when I didn't really give them that much of a shot.
Really?
Of
Okay.
Well, I thought it's their first like season in the highest div, I believe. If you don't, I think it was maybe tier 1 they played, but they've never played Division A or Division 1. And obviously Nick Schaefer has a lot of talent. That arm talent is absolutely crazy. Probably the best pure thrower in all of FPF. But they've been winning, but has it been that convincing? I'm not so sure. Um, Obviously, that 4-2 record is nice, but they haven't necessarily played the toughest teams. They got absolutely wrecked by Spearhead in week 4. And I saw their game versus Blessed, and you know it was
It
it
was a
was
weird game.
good. It was good, but like Schaefer wasn't like that dominant QB that maybe people expect him to be.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, they got crushed by Spearhead, but they also crushed Spearhead the week before. So I mean, yeah, they played Blessed twice, a 1 point victory and then a 10 point victory. I mean, yeah, the thing is, maybe I'm not like thinking it's the story of the season because I think that's exactly who they are. Like a 4-2. This is a good team. They went 9-1, 8-2 in Division Two, and last year in Div B, actually I think we were the 1 seed, so that must have made them the 8th seed. But they upset what was our name, Beers and Brownies, in Division B last year as the 1 seed. They upset us and made it to the semis or quarterfinals. But I mean, I'm not too surprised because this is a good team. Um, do you have a
I'll give you another
backup
one then.
story or no?
I do. Why is Braves defense struggling?
Wyatt's Braves?
Why is the Braves
Oh,
defense struggling?
oh,
Is
yes,
that
that's
is
a
that
good
crazy
one.
to say?
That's a good one. Yeah, 215 points against in 6 games. That's a lot of points. Um, 36 points a game, 35.8. So
Yeah.
36. So they're what six times six, so 6 touchdowns a game. No extra points. They're probably. I mean, that's not that bad. Giving up six
No,
touchdowns a game in Div A.
no, but it's close enough that if Jomar has a bad game, they could potentially lose. They lost by 2 to they won by 2 versus Blessed. Um, Spearhead, as we talked last week, had a chance of beating them. We also had a chance of beating them. We put up a lot of points on them. They're I thought it was pretty easy to score against them. I didn't think their defense was that good, and like there's a real question there as to is there is this just a bad slump, or is this team just absolutely dominant offensively but just average defensively?
So I think you can make the hot take that they're average defensively, where it is not there, because we moved the ball against them with relative ease. But that's because Isaiah Allard wasn't there. I'm telling you,
Of
I
course,
took that into
of course.
account. I'm like, he's I all those skinny posts that I threw you. I'm not sure they're like half of them would have made it with Isaiah Allard there. I mean,
Thank you, Isaiah,
playing
for
it.
not showing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Thanks. Like yes, the larger Laval field, I felt even going into the game would be an advantage for us versus Brossard, which is shorter and like 1 yard less width wise. Um, but still, yeah, Isaiah not being there to rush was a big difference. And when he's not there for that defense, it makes them average. Yeah.
Sure. But even then, they allowed 42 versus Blessed with
Yeah.
Isaiah there.
But I think only rushing like half. Still, yeah, I see.
I mean, he
I
had
like
3 PDs, 1 sack.
yeah. So if they have an average defense, does Party have the best defense in Division A?
Yes. There's no argument. They're like, just like the names on that team: Mendel Joseph, Kedim Pierre, Gisele Alexis, Rip-Jean Giraud, Fritz Senatus, and François Hug rushing.
That's solid.
Those are
That is
all great
great.
defensive players. Maybe
Yeah.
not the best offensive players, but defensively they're all elite. And it's shown they have what, 16 picks so far in Division A.
Yes. Yes.
Those are like
7 sacks to go along. Yeah.
those are like Div D, Div E stats, for
Yes, yeah,
defenses.
yeah, yeah. In Div A, yes, yes. Literally Div E, like D stats. Teams that are just throwing Hail Marys every play, like that the
Yeah,
defense is coming away with it. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see their ratios here. Yeah, that's. I mean, so is Blessed. Blessed, they're giving up only 1 out of every 2 drives. That doesn't seem right. Maybe there's something wrong with our stats here. It could be right, but Party Crashers only allowing touchdowns on 52% of opposing opponents' offenses. Let's see. Party Crashers 35% on fourth down is very good. Yes. So that
yeah,
like I look at those key stats. Mangoose also that 26% on fourth down is eye popping. And yeah, like we're gonna stick to Party Crashers and their defense, but Mangoose putting up some impressive numbers as well. 54% of their opponents' drives end in touchdowns. 37% third down conversion. 26% fourth down conversion. Very impressive. But yeah, the name power it's there for Party Crashers, but like you said, they're backing it up with the stats as well. So it seems clear cut for both you and I that they have the best defense, but watch out for Mangoose, even
yeah,
Blessed, putting up some good solid numbers there in Div A. Unlike YS Rejects, our defense is could be doing better here. Um,
way better.
so so we're just looking at the division, looking at offenses, defenses, and if we said that like the DA Braves has an elite offense, and we have Party Crashers with an elite defense. Who's that second best offense in the division that can give the DA Braves a shot for their money right now?
It's YF's rejects. As weird
Right?
as it is, it's us. Like if it's, I don't mean to be biased, but like ravaging more yards per game than them.
Then
We're scoring
Braves.
than Braves, 260, almost 266 yards. We're the second less plays per touchdown. Um, second in points per game. All the stats back us up, and it kind of makes sense. Our offense has been absolutely rolling, but our defense just makes us lose. If I do say so, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I'd say though, the one reason you could vote against Wyatt's rejects were the high volume of interceptions that I was throwing at the beginning of the seasons. Look, it looks like that has, stopped, or at least really, I'm not throwing 3 to 4 a game. But that was only one game against, granted, it was against Braves, but,
yeah,
you know, uh,
lower
there,
sample
there's
size.
there's an argument to be made for Wyatt's rejects. There's arguments to be made for others. Wyatt's rejects. Would you have another kind of third best?
Um, I'd like to go with blessed, and the games that they've been good offensively have been really good, and the games that they've been bad have been really bad.
Yeah,
Like the two games that really bring their averages down are the ones versus Mangoose
yeah,
last week, and
yeah,
obviously the one versus Party Crashers where Steve
yeah,
absolutely got wrecked.
yeah,
But other
yeah.
than that, it's been really good.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. But yeah, I think Wyatt's rejects is in that conversation. And and we've been kind of rolling a inconsistent roster. I don't think the same roster has suited up twice. Uh, Granted, we've only played 4 games, so there's a few games to make up here. But definitely some key ones coming up. I believe we have a back to back with Mangoose coming up later in the season, which may determine who makes or misses playoffs depending on how
KGP, you
the
mean, right?
no, I did mean a back to back coming up against Mangoose in the next few weeks, and then
Oh
at the
yeah,
end of the and then near the end of the season, we have a back to back with KGP, which may just determine who makes or doesn't make playoffs, depending on how those middle games of the season end up for Wise rejects. But from Division A, we will roll into 5v5 here. Another, we at the top of the show, we mentioned the Mike Piercin video going around making highlights. One that we got a snippet of was the 1v1 AJ Gomes versus Felix Boutet. But should maybe we have been looking at like AJ James Drysdale when we're looking at 1v1 receiver in talk to me about whatever you want. The 1v1 AJ Boutte or AJ James Drysdale for receiver of the year. Go ahead.
yeah. So it wasn't a great game for us. Jules definitely did not have his best game. He didn't look comfortable, and I think it's just the matchup with Ethan Adrian was has always been a tough one for him. Like matchups against like fast rushers, he's always struggled with. They always tend to get in his head, and he's not letting his he's not getting in that flow state where you're just playing the game. And yeah, so that didn't help Felix Boutet get anything done that night. And yeah, just AJ just completely outplayed him. And there was that little like that coach versus the student that AJ used to coach Felix back in the U18 tournaments, I think in flag.
Yeah.
And I think Boutet's a very very talented player. He just didn't get any help from his QB that game. But yeah, obviously a 1v1 between AJ and James would be really interesting because you're probably looking at the two best receivers, potentially two best two-way players in all of FPF. So obviously there's that, and yeah, I mean there's um, there's no question that I think that AJ is going to win two-way player of the year. So it's not really that much of a race. He's
Okay,
got
I see what you're
a
saying.
yeah. I mean it's probably going to be James just based off the fact that AJ doesn't have is gonna probably guaranteed to be winning that two-way player of the year with 6 picks and 12 touchdowns in six
Okay, but
games.
imagine Francois Rochelot had 1,000
Right.
receiving yards for 30 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, so that he wins two-way player of the year. If you're now lining up AJ Gomes with 4 games remaining and James with 6 games remaining, I mean, he's only. I shouldn't say that. James has played
They
four
both have four.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Braves have played 6, so they both have 4 games remaining. So who wins receiver of the year?
I think it's AJ, but I think that James is getting shut down. For That's what I heard, that he's got issues with his shin splints, and he's probably taking off for 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know if they have many games in next 2 to 3 weeks. It's kind of a bailout. Like the real question is, who do you think is a better receiver? Do you think AJ or James a better receiver?
No,
I
it's
don't
not really
know.
the question. No, it's not really the question because there's always no. Obviously, context is involved because AJ Gomes getting Dan Lazara back as a quarterback is a big influence there for a rise in his stats once again. Right, he was always putting up stats, 300
Mhm.
yards or so, but he's already at 400, and that's largely due with Dan Lazara throwing him the ball again.
Yeah.
I don't know. You never know with James. One week it's for 2 weeks, then you see him on the field suiting up. So you never know. So put that aside. Put that question. That's not what I heard recently. I heard he's good to go. So
All right.
that said,
Well, he did miss. I think it was a co-ed game, but he's been missing a lot of those.
yeah,
We'll get into
co-ed.
that
Yes,
later.
they're shutting him down for co-ed. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like the 5v5 might not be getting shut down. That's his bread and butter. But honestly, yeah, James. I think if James plays the remaining 4 games, he wins this. The connection between him and Joe Mauer is just too good, and James is probably like the best receiver if Joe Mauer is throwing. So yeah, I'll go with James.
All right. Flagmoil Sac versus KGP. We got an interesting week 7 matchup here as man KGP is still looking for their first win, both Div A and 5v5 versus Flagmoil Sac, who we're not too sure. Like we thought they were going to be a powerhouse coming in, but they come out rusty. I believe they got a win in their last game. Looking at
Versus
it now,
KGP.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was against KGP, yeah.
Yeah.
So now they have a rematch. So how do you feel like this one's gonna go down?
I think KGP. It might be the game for KGP to finally win. Just based off the fact that Flagmons like haven't played in 3 weeks, which
Yeah.
they're already rusty. They're going to be even more rusty coming into that one. And KGP has kind of turned it around, not in terms of winning games, but like they've had way more success in their past 2 games. 46 points versus Braves. Obviously, you were throwing, it wasn't the full roster, and 32 points against us, who we've been one of the best defense. We're full squad, and honestly, like Phil Cutler looked way more comfortable, and then when I saw him play versus Braves. Um, I did not see the game versus Fagmon Sack earlier, but I think this is gonna be the one for KGP. Honestly, upset alert. I think KGP wins it.
Oh damn. Okay, because
Yeah.
I just look at the last matchup, 32-14, and okay, yeah, it was June 5th. That was almost 3 weeks ago. But and if yeah, Cutler is looking better, but this past Wednesday in Div A against Spearhead didn't look great again. I think he had 3 TDs, 4 INTs. Got sacked 6 times. I think 3 times by Manu, 3 times by Nas
Yeah,
Dillon. I
that was
don't know.
yesterday, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes. I have
yeah.
to say Wednesday in
Wednesday,
Laval
yeah, of
because
course. Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes. Because when people watch this, Jerome, it's Friday. So if you say yesterday, they
Right.
think
I'm
it's Thursday.
sorry.
Yes, it's podcast time. Yeah, so I don't know. Just the inconsistency and just the I have to stick with the trend. I know eventually they are gonna get a win. It's just for me, it's not this week. It's not against Flag Malsac, not against a team who is capable of putting up 40, 45, 50 points. It just they're not there at that point. They can. I'm not saying they can't. They can put 40, 45, 50 uh just like Flagmalsac, but they're struggling this year, and they haven't proven it on a consistent basis. So I just got to go with Flagma on this one. And then we've talked about this, probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks, about Royaume Luminance starting without a win and now going on a 5-game win streak. And it's gonna end this week against Braves. But I was thinking about it again, and I'm like, wait, what? Why do we think it's gonna end this week? Why do we think that they can't give them a run for their money? And maybe, like we talked about in Division A, where the defense can be had. Again, if Isaiah Allard's not in Dan Lazara's face, what happens if they're going score for score and the convert battle for one play goes Royaume Luminaire's way? Why is it impossible for or not impossible for Royaume to beat Braves this week?
It's very possible. And honestly, like if you were to give odds, it would probably be like maybe 2-1 for Braves. But Royaume are looking like the second best team in Division 5v5,
Yeah.
and they're getting closer and closer to Braves every week. And obviously it's because Dan Lazaro's throwing. His game fits 5v5 perfectly. We played against him. He just lines up like 12 yards
Yeah.
behind the line of scrimmage, and he just zips it. And you're like, what can we do? You almost can't do anything. You got to get lucky. One of our picks was extremely lucky. A receiver dropped it
Because it's too
near the
hard. Yes,
sideline.
because the
Yeah,
pass is coming in too hot. Yeah.
exactly. So every time like there's a drop or something, it's not Dan's fault. It's just he plays a certain style that fits 5v5 so well, and Wyoming, we just couldn't score against them. They're just too good defensively. They didn't even have Rory, but Alexis Gaumont showed up and got 2 picks on Jules Régin. AJ always a demon defensively, and Quasi was also very very solid. Ethan, one of the best rushers. They could definitely like cause some troubles for Braves on the offense, and they're going to score on Braves too. I think this is going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be high scoring, but there's a way I see AJ or Quasi or Alexi getting a pick on Meyer, and
Yeah.
Lazaro absolutely like dicing the defense of Braves up and winning this one.
Yeah, definitely is one very interesting one to see play out Sunday, 9 o'clock, Field 2 at Brossard. So definitely, I'm gonna be there at 9 o'clock. It's perfect. It's the one time slot. I don't have a game. I'm definitely watching that one in the stands. Get a good bird's eye view there. Uh, good conversation there in 5v5 Division A. We'll transition over to the women's division. We'll once again start with women's B, where we're going to look at some of the wide receiver trios in the division here. As we take a look at and open up the stats here. I want to know which wide receiver trio, Jerome, you would go with when building a team. Would you take Red Nation's top three, which is Kialim Beckles, Gigi Cabillo Abante, and Emma Townsend Aslan as your core three of Red Nation? Or would you go with Supernova and their top three-headed monster of Quentin, Corbeil, and Bergeron?
Right. I haven't seen many women's games, but I think I would go with Red Nation. Uh, just looking at their stats, they're looking like they're probably more dynamic than the three options for Supernova. And obviously, that can depend on the receivers. But I've seen GG play, and she's really talented. Like honestly, I think
Yeah.
she's the one that moves the needle for me. And just a little segue. You gave me a great idea of something that we. What if you made a division where the men, there's a male quarterback, but every other position has to be a woman. How would that work?
Interesting. Okay, so hold on. Backpedal here. So you're throwing out a crazy idea for a new division where you have to have a male quarterback, one male player on the team.
One male quarterback.
Okay, so male quarterback. Okay, so now all my receiver, snapper, defenders, they're all female.
Yep.
And so, what's the question? You're just like, how would that work? How would it be?
Is it a good idea? Do you think like that's something that like that could work, or maybe not
I
now, but
mean, sure, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit, yeah, it's a little strange, but just because it's
yeah,
strange doesn't mean it's a good idea or a bad idea. It still could be a bad idea. I don't know. I'm not sure
probably a
about
bad
that one.
idea.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure.
You just mentioned it like if I was because I put myself in the position like what if I was making a team like for a co-ed team like
Yeah.
if I were choosing with the I think I'd go with the Red Nation trio
Yeah,
there.
it's a strong squad. That they have great receivers, like you said. Gigi can run any route tree
Yeah,
in out there, whether it's a go post, ins, smash outs, any double move concept. She's your go to. Kealan Beckles, smaller in stature, but when she has the ball in her hand, she is a speed demon. She can definitely blow the top off of defenses, whether it's a drag or on a go. Just the ball's gotta get there, and she has reliable hands. Very dangerous receiver for any defense to go up against. And Emma Townsend Asselin is becoming a very solid option, whether it's co-ed or women's division for Allison Sobel's Red Nation. What I've been noticing, 7 ins, comeback routes, 5 yard hooks. She's very reliable with the hands, able to generate first downs, which is huge in 5v5 format, like you now, Jerome. She's
yeah.
so as and so for that caliber to be your third receiver on a team, that means there's some serious depth on this Red Nation. And I didn't even mention Marilyn Cesare, who has 259 yards, 21 receptions on 29 targets, 4 touchdowns. So, like I said, the depth of this Red Nation team and receiver goes very deep. So I too would lean towards Red Nation side. Though Supernova has been putting up some very impressive numbers in with Rosalie Quentin, Dali Corbeil, and Camille Bergeron as well. Uh, but speaking of Supernova, uh,
Yep.
we had talked about them early, season success here, starting out 3-0. They've now dropped two in a row, sitting at 3-2. Um, you know, their last loss came against Ibu to separate themselves in the standings just a little bit. Let's kind of look at the a game recap here. 18-6 over Supernova. It was Chloe Beaulieu of Ibu that had a big game defensively for this team. 3 interceptions to really shut down the Supernova offense. What else stands out to you from this game, Jerome?
Yeah, if we look at Supernova first of all, I think they moved the ball pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
195 yards is solid, but four interceptions, like that's always going to cost you, and it feels like it kind of heartbreaking to move the ball so well and then just kill the possession with an interception. I mean, an interception is always kind of heartbreaking, especially when it's like some plays can happen and it's just like damn it, this shouldn't have happened, and then you're like this compounds into the next driver. You're kind of you're losing, you want to force it, and then it just ramps it up. But there was some positive on the Supernova side. Two PDs on defense. Chloe Corbeil with a PD, Alexandre Leblanc with a PD. But yeah, I mean that defensive performance from Ibu was just insane. Chloe Beaulieu, of course, I think she's up to what 8 picks now in 6 or 7 games. And Elodie Champagne from I'm not sure if she rushed the whole game, but She got a pick, a sack, and three PDs. So yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
it was like those two players completely changed the game. They won the game for their team with their defense, and in 5v5, like as I've grown to see and realize, is defense is massive. Like there's a way bigger advantage for the defense in 5v5 than in
Yep.
6v6, and having those dominant defensive performances can literally win you games.
Yeah, because like you're saying, the yards they Supernova had more yards than Ibu, right? I mean, of course, Ibu with four interceptions is a smaller field to advance and less yards to gain, but still, Florence Bro drove the field enough yardage wise for four touchdowns and only came away with one, right? And like
Mhm.
you're saying, yes, some interceptions can be backbreaking at times, but not all interceptions are created equal. I think you're seeing this,
Right.
especially in the 5v5, where it's fourth down and 15 to the half. Like you might as well try and throw an a ball to get you a first down that might get intercepted. So and the defense is going to play the interception and not bat the ball down because they're not going to get the ball at like their own the opponent's 10-yard line, right? So you're going to
Right.
see more interceptions in that game. But definitely that wasn't necessarily the case here with Florence because again, yards were there. It should, by yard standards, should have scored at least four touchdowns, which would have given them the victory. But a bit of an easy way to assess the game. Of course, Ibu, like you said, dominant defensively, and Emilie Adam just did what she had to do. She didn't force
Yep.
the ball because if she's creating turnover, she's turning the ball over just as much. Then that defensive effort is all for none. So she was able to only completing around half of her passes, but three of them went for touchdowns, and that was the clutch enough for Ibu to get the victory. As we move along to women's A now, you know, small division, so the topics sometimes get a bit limited here, but
Yeah.
you know, at the beginning of the season, and even throughout the season, it's sort of a foregone conclusion that Sarah Parker is going to win quarterback of the year. But then when I look at the stats and I see Sandrine Gobeyuo, very talented quarterback herself, has thrown six less interceptions. So, 16 TDs to Sarah's 22. Of course, Sarah, more touchdowns, more yards, but not the better QBR. So, in my mind, I see Sarah at top of the line. I'm like, okay, yep, it's quarterback of the year, blind. I don't have to look at it. But I don't think that's the case. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think Salgan has been better. Like obviously, a bit like less touchdowns, but six less interceptions, six less sacks, a better QB rating, a higher completion percentage. Not as many yards, but she's still not like she's still a game back. So it's not that far away, but she's missed two games. She's got three games left. Sarah has four. It's hard to make the argument for Sandrine unless she goes absolutely berserk to end the season, and she gets to play Matrix three times in a row to end it. And is that a matchup where she feels like she can really like dominate them and go and steal that award from Sarah Parker, who hasn't been as great as probably expected up to this point, but versus Matrix. They haven't played yet, so I'm not sure like how that matchup really is. We're gonna see it obviously 3 weeks back to back, so that's definitely going to be interesting. But yeah, it's possible, but she'll need to be absolutely perfect going forward.
Yeah, and Sandrin's beating her in the convert game as well. Has hit 15 converts, a mix of one and two, mostly ones, to Sarah's 12. So if Sandrin keeps that pace up, Sarah Parker is going to need to and can absolutely has the roster and has her own abilities, has the ability to for this quarterback of the race to go definitely down to the wire. Like you mentioned, though, Jerome, Matrix is facing Sub Zero once in their next coming games, and then face faces Cayenne 3 times to end their season. So, uh, what do you think? How do you think they're going to fare at the end of those 4 games? Do they pick up here to close out their season?
Yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to lose against Sub Zero. It's a bad matchup for them. They've played them twice already this season and scored 14 points, while Sub Zero scored 35 and 36. It's I'd say it's maybe more attainable versus Cayenne, just based off the fact that they get to play them 3 times in a row and maybe adjust.
Yeah.
Like give like I doubt they win the first game. I think Cayenne takes it pretty easily, but then the second game might be a bit closer, and then perhaps they'll win the third game. Uh, maybe a couple plays go their way, and they win one of the 3 games, but I doubt they win more than one of their last four.
Yeah,
To be
I think.
honest,
Yeah, I'm on that same vein as you. I don't think they'll get the win over Sub Zero. I think they'll get one win over Cayenne potentially, and I kind of like broke down, did an analysis on several fronts here. So I don't think it'll be the first game, though. I do believe Laval Outdoors is a better suited field for Matrix to beat Cayenne over playing at Marie Victorin like they do in their second game. I think Sandrine can absolutely dice them up on a bigger field in at Marie Victorin. By bigger, I mean longer, because
yeah.
it is 25 yards. Width is the same everywhere, but lengthwise, she has her rocket of an arm that can really stretch the field. And then I think after 2 games of facing the Cayenne defense, I think so. Like I said, with playing in Laval outdoors and having played them twice already, I think the last game of the season is where Matrix could potentially get a win over Cayenne for those 2 reasons there. But definitely going to be interesting for to see how Elizabeth Ashkar comes along into the season. Hasn't played as much. 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for her. There's definitely some very good weapons on this Matrix offensive and defensive side of the ball. And Frederic Tarsif, like I've mentioned in the past, Abigail Perrault, Beatrice Tremblay. So definitely some players to work with here to see if they can potentially beat the powerhouses in Sub Zero and Cayenne. So we'll dive into the co-ed world, Jerome, as I have more hot takes to make in co-ed here. We'll start again. Co-ed 1. Last week, Jerome, you gave us your predictions of how the co-ed 1 standings are going to fare, and my God, you opened the standings page, and there was a gap last week with like a team at 4-1 and 2 teams with 1 win. And now that gap is, my God, it is closing in fast. You have the potential for Kiss My End Zone in the 5th seed at 3-3 right now, if they beat Plenty of Fish, to move to jolt themselves all the way up to the number 1 seed. Again, depending on points against, it's not likely going to happen, as Kiss My End Zone is the second worst defense in terms of giving up points. But that the idea that they could potentially, in record wise, move into a tie for first place is very interesting here. So the question is there a clear cut best team in Co-ed 1?
The answer is definitely no.
Okay.
And I gave you my power rankings last week, and if I were to
Yeah.
give you them again, they would probably change. Uh,
Yeah.
so I re-asked myself the question in a different way, which was, which team would I rather not face in the first round of the playoffs? What is the
Okay.
one
Yeah.
team I would not want to be facing? And I think that team is the IG team.
Yeah.
I think like with their athleticism, their Ginzy Alexis' ability to move the ball and just run around the field and dominate you is probably the most fearsome team of all of these teams. Like, obviously it is matchup dependent when it comes to who plays who. Obviously, like if you play the IG team, your rusher is going to be extremely important. But overall, I think anyone can beat anyone, as I've said last week. we don't really know who's going to win this division, and that's why it makes it the best. Like I couldn't give you like if there were like we were to make tiers, there would probably be like top six teams in tier A and maybe vultures in tier B plus,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep. And it's only because they lost James Drysdale, right? Because if they
Right.
if they have James Drysdale on, they're like they're in there for sure,
Yep.
absolutely. So yeah, I absolutely like I can't help but just smile looking at this division and watching co-ed one games. Like I said at the top of the show, Mike Piercin getting the big victory with pass whooping over Plenty of Fish, back and forth, pick six it one way, Seth Galina pick six the other way from Kwesi Gordon Mall. Which shake up news, co-ed one, pass whooping roster news here. Looks like Emerson Peterkin no longer part of the team. Pass whooping, but okay, no Emerson Peterkin. Just add Kwesi Gordon Mall to the squad. Yeah, no problem. Which may have actually improved their defensive side of the ball, in my opinion. So pass whooping, maybe losing a point on offense, but gaining 2 points on defense, in my opinion. Jerome, you were mentioning kind of with the women's division, asking you a question about which wide receiver trio you would take, and it got me thinking as well. You're not full time playing in co-ed here, so my question to you is, which team do you think that you could be the biggest benefit to if you were to be inserted into their lineup? Maybe it's a team like Vultures that is sitting at 1-5. How do you see your skill set best help a team that may need, or is it like it has a weakness in a certain area?
Yeah, so of course you look at the Vultures team, and it's definitely probably the weakest roster with the loss of James Drysdale. And you can clearly see that they don't necessarily have that number one receiver, which is that's kind of my role usually in teams is I'm a number one option. I'm the reliable guy that you hit to get a first down. It's fourth down. The ball's coming to me. I'm making the catch. I'm making the plays. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's Kevin Donnet, but he's more of a snapper. He's not necessarily that guy who's gonna be able to stretch the field. And obviously that number one option was James Drysdale. And you lose James Drysdale, you lose the number one receiver, and it's like in my opinion that's where I would like slot right in like as a James replacement. Um, Obviously, I would have said kiss my end zone because of our connection, but you don't need me, bro. You're good. Uh, and also maybe Les Porcinets. I mean, they've been okay, but not amazing. And I played one game, and my connection with Chris Vero was pretty good. So there's that. But yeah, I think Vultures is probably the answer here.
All right. And then to wrap up co-ed one, kind of like I mentioned and alluded to, um, with the women's division, looking at wide receiver male female duos. There's a ton of them a ton of great ones in co-ed one. I want to know which male female wide receiver duo you are going with. So you have Sanders Armand and Audrey Lajoie of Kiss My End Zone. You have Frédéric Daou and JC Ferland of Easy W, Kevin Donnet and Gigi Cabillo Abante of Vultures. Or you're going to go Jordanson Alexi and Jaffia Jones of IG Team. All four sets of duos putting up great numbers in Co-ed 1.
It's a tough question. Obviously, if you look simply at the stats, I'm gonna go with Sanders and Audrey. Sanders, dominant player, dominant physical force on the field. Audrey Lajoie, we've talked about her last week. She's just insanely skilled. And as you mentioned, like you think like she could actually perform in like some of the highest male divisions.
Okay, here it is. Here, okay, so here's the hot
Gotta
take.
talk about that.
Here it is. Omar, get ready to clip it. Okay, so Audrey Lajoie, better than 75% as a two-way player of the players playing in Division D right now. I think Audrey Lajoie can play Division C and be a good two-way player. And then my hottest take, I think Audrey Lajoie can slide into my Division B offense, and my Division B offense would not suffer one bit. We would be a smooth operation with Audrey Lajoie in the lineup playing receiver in Division B.
That's interesting. You know, we should do it. You should do it.
Sub her
We got a
in.
couple
Let's
guys
go.
missing. Let's go. Sub her in.
Let's go. She's
Let her play offense. Let her prove herself.
okay. This could be interesting. We'll see. Maybe there's an option there with Kiss My End Zone playing on Sunday, and then us playing perhaps with still up in the air a scrimmage game that would have been against Hateful Eight, maybe against some Division A guys. So maybe if she's interested in staying and playing, maybe she can play in Division B and show off her skills there.
Perfect opportunity.
Okay, so you're going with Sanders on Mount Audrey, just with the yards leaders there.
I'm gonna. It's tough because obviously Frédéric Daou has been absolutely amazing. She's third in touchdowns as a female player in co-ed 1.
Yep.
Is insane.
Yep.
And you know she's got the best stats on her team. Jessie Ferland, great player, but I think Alexandre Barros is a better receiver. Like if perhaps he hasn't played as much and he hasn't had the best season so far, but from what we've seen in the past, I think that Frédéric Daou and Alexandre Barros, like if you're looking at just pure receiving options, I think that's the best duo over Sanders and Audrey.
Okay, so Jerome, who are you picking with your wide receiver duo? Let's stop talking about this. Who are you picking? Who's your number one duo here?
Frédéric Daou and Alexandre Barros.
Okay, so it's not an option I gave you, so screw this. It's over. All right, that was the co-ed 1 talk. Always great talk in co-ed 1. We'll scramble over to co-ed 2 here. Air Force versus Nighthawks mix. We have a battle of the two bottom teams here, Jerome. Air Force sitting at 1-5. Nighthawks mix sitting at 0-6-1. The one tie, be careful, is a tie against Bolas Profundas, which is a game that was not completed because of lightning and thunder that struck way too close to each other last week in Laval, or 2 weeks ago in Laval, perhaps now. So that is not an actual tie. So that is still a game that could end in a tie, could end in a win, could end in a loss. Essentially, mark Nighthawks mix as 0-6 right now. So the question is, Jerome, does the loser of this game essentially end their season?
Yes and no, because Nighthawks mix still get to play who's going to carry the boats, which is the team that and it's no offense, you know, I love those guys, you know, they're all players I know. Alex Solipsky hasn't necessarily shown that he's ready to throw in co-ed 2 yet, and that's a game that I think Nighthawks mix have a good chance of winning. Actually, I don't like, if I were to pick, I wouldn't necessarily give you who's gonna carry the boats first.
What did you drop? What was that?
No, my brother closed the door.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to close it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, so I think it's not necessarily over, but yes, there are some huge ramifications in the standings, like who's gonna miss out depending on this game. So it's a must win for both. A win basically confirms that you're well, not necessarily, but it does.
Yeah.
It's gonna improve chances greatly, though. A loss is pretty catastrophic at this point for either team.
Well, that's it. Like that's why like the loss would be pretty catastrophic. So you look at the the schedule for both teams, right? So you have Nighthawks mix playing Air Force, currently tied in a game with Bolas Profundas 6-6. Nighthawks playing Fit Squad July 8th, and then end off against who's going to carry the boats. So how many wins do you see coming out of that schedule there?
Um, one, I think you're
Okay.
gonna win one of both. I doubt they win both games though, and there's still a possibility that they lose both of them. So it's still up in the air. But yeah, I mean
And
it's
then
it's yeah, Air
yeah, and
Force.
then you got and then you got Air Force exactly, who have again Nighthawks mix. They played back that pass up, Pig 6, and finish off their season against Kiss My Christmas Ball. So how many wins do you see for them coming out of the rest of their schedule as they lost their last game 45-6 against Fit Squad?
Yeah, I mean I think Nighthawks mix is the only like clearly winnable game. The other three games are going to be very tough. I doubt that they even like stay close in any of those three remaining games. So yeah, this one is I think this one is even more obviously it's important like critical for both teams, but it's even more
Yeah,
critical for Air Force considering the
there.
rest of their
Yeah,
roster.
that's
But they do
there you
have
go.
that yeah, they do have that one win over who's going to carry the votes that gives them a bit of leeway in terms of making the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, but I think I agree with you. I think a loss to Nighthawks mix would be more devastating, or a loss would be more devastating for Air Force in this co-ed 2 world that we're currently living in. Quarterback of the year. Let's dive into that discussion in co-ed 2. Uh, Look, you got I think you know a few names in consideration here. I think you have Cedric Modis of the rookies right now, your touchdown passing leader with 1,080 yards. Also, your passing leader. Add his 239 yards on the ground with another 4 touchdowns through the ground is maybe your leading candidate. You got Jason Rossi, rushing stats at 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 28 TDs, 1,000 yards, or above 4 interceptions. You have William Bruin also in that discussion, and Samuel Omombo. Who do you think is the clear front runner right now, and who do you think wins the award?
Yeah, so the clear front runner right now is Cedric Maurice. Obviously, maybe a bit higher interception and sack numbers, but he's got clearly more touchdowns than the others. At what is it, 33 combined? But like
Yeah.
if we don't take into consideration the games played, then yes, it would be Cedric Maurice. But if we go on a per game basis, it has to be William Roy, who is the guy that I think is going to win the award. Um, in terms of efficiency, only 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, very good. The highest QB rating, a bit lower in terms of yards, but that's also because Fit Squad have such a great defense that maybe doesn't have as many like opportunities to go like the full 40 yards. But yeah, he's been probably the best quarterback at this point in co-ed 2, and it's also the converts are pretty good too. 7 XP1s, 1 XP2. When races are that close between quarterbacks, usually you want to be looking at converts because it's probably the difference maker in terms of winning or losing that award when it comes to these tight races.
I don't know though. Seven extra point
It's
ones
not,
and one extra
yeah,
point two on 30 on how many touchdowns is it? On 27 through the
27.
air and another one on the ground. 7 of 28. So what? It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great, but he's also got one less game played. Um, Obviously the rookies, it's been going really well for them too on Converse. Probably yeah. If we talk about Converse, Cedric Maurice probably has the edge there. How many is that? That's 13 XP1s and 3 XP2s. So yeah, I mean,
Mm.
if we go off Converse, yeah, there's a good advantage from Maurice, but yeah, he's gonna have to improve that efficiency a little bit unless Bois some tougher games with a couple picks there.
Oh, that's it. There's going to be a massive game between these two teams. The rookies facing off Fit Squad Sunday, July 7th at 9 in the morning. So whoever has more rest the Saturday night, has more coffee that morning, might just be your quarterback of the year in Co-Ed 2. Co-Ed 3. We had some surprising results in Co-Ed 3. We had Block Party win very decisively 52 to 24 over Bonzit. And you also had Gold Diggers getting their second win of the season, not their first. They beat the Free Agent Squad 44-21. What was the more surprising result for you here, Jerome?
I think Block Party's result was a bit more surprising because scoring 52 points in Co-ed 3 uh, is kind of insane. And the way
Yeah.
that Ivan Salomon scored those points was crazy efficient. 20 for 26, 174 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 2 XP2s, which is, hard to it's lower divisions. They usually always go for one, and they
Yeah.
converted on two. He ran for one. He also
Yeah.
ran for 65 yards and 1 touchdown to add to that total, and he got a defensive interception as well.
Oh, yeah. He
That
was
is that
everywhere.
is yeah, that's an elite performance. Like he won that game, like, not single handedly because he's a quarterback. He can't win single handedly as a quarterback, but insane performance.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I was there. I was there to watch this game. I'm like, oh, Block Party got like over the year and played them in like 2 years, like myself on the field, and I'm like, oh, they got a lot better. Salomon got a lot better at the quarterback position. Like he could not really throw a ball further than like 10, 15 yards. Now he can. He's better using his legs in combination with his arm, and using the fact that he's not a great deep ball thrower for like 40 yards. He's putting his receivers in positions where he's running and they're getting to a spot that he's able to throw, a very accurate and enough strength on the ball to get it to all of his receivers at 7-8 yards downfield and letting them do most of the damage. Yeah, I was very impressed with Block Party, but I think the more surprising result for me had to be Gold putting up 44 points in their game against Free Agent Squad. It's a team that hadn't put many points on the board as to date. 6, 14, 0. And then in the last 3 weeks, 20, 26, and now 44. So, like, really, they doubled their best performance or close to double their best performance. And, I think they should be going if he is full-time on the team. He only played one game. Alexei Bulanov. I think this is the guy they need to go with at quarterback. He seemed in control of the huddle. Didn't seem rattled, when it was still a somewhat close game at halftime. He seemed very in control. If you just look at the stats for Gold Diggers in their previous games, the other quarterbacks that have thrown passes for them, Alex Adamides, 7 TDs, 7 INTs, 1-to-1 TD INT ratio, not great. 264 yards through 6 games. So not great. Alexei Bulanov might be the quarterback that they want to go with in the future here because he was, like I said, very in control of the game, whether it was running, passing, even 2-point converts, 1-point convert game. He seemed like this is the direction that they should go in. Personally, for me, that was the more surprising result. Any quick comment there?
Who's this guy?
Yeah, he's like a 6'3" big dude. He can move well. Like, yeah, I
Dude,
liked I liked it. There, this is who this guy is, Alexei Bulanov. As we got the profile pictures updated, thanks to our scorekeepers.
Did you see the game or no? You did? I can't hear you.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
You know.
He's
Yeah, I
insane
know.
or what?
Oh
Is he
no,
an
no, no. He's
athlete?
not
Is he
insane. He's no, he's not insane, but you can tell that he has a lot more control of the offense than anyone else throwing a ball. He's not insane. He's decent. He's good. He's good for co-ed 3. I think this is if they're going to be making a quarterback switch, it's time that they go with Alexei Bulanov. In my opinion, it would be the right decision for this team.
perhaps is he more of a receiver? Like if
He
you
could be. He could be, but with seeing how others have thrown the ball, completing
right.
35% of your passes as Alex Adamides has, like it's not great. And
Yeah, obviously.
I doubt the team was having much fun, when you're struggling to move the ball on offense and you're just punting and then you can't stop opposing offenses. It's not so much fun. You could tell they had a lot more fun this game. Free agent squad, not the toughest opponent, but my suggestion, go with Alexei Bulanov as your full time starter if he's committed to playing with you guys.
For sure. It's yeah, you said free agent squad, like they're probably the worst team in co-ed 3, like
Yeah,
0-7, 39 points for. So okay, it's a great performance, but I wasn't as impressed because of who they were playing against. But I mean, Alexei Bulanov just dominated that game. So
yeah.
if it's definitely a better option than and Adamatis, and yeah, it's definitely going to be more fun for this team if they have someone who can actually move the ball on
Yeah,
offense.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it was a fun game. Like both teams were, they put up more points than they have all season, pretty much. And both teams had a good time playing that game for sure. Uh, we look at some of the teams bottom of the standings to two of the higher teams here in Block Party 6-0, 1-9ers 5-0. They're playing right now. Thursday night, Laval outdoors. Right now, actually, maybe the game has
Game is
even
over. Yeah.
ended. What? Yeah, the game was at 7 o'clock. So yeah, 8:30 right now on the clock. Omar, one of these days, we're gonna have to, because we record the show when there are live games. Soon, we're gonna have live scorekeeper calls with Manny Bezogias and or Leo Diacum. Yeah, just Leo. Um, I tried.
You
I failed.
tried.
I failed. So block party against 1-9ers. Who do you think won this game? Who's still undefeated? Do you like what you saw from Yvan Salomon from Block Party to get another victory here? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, not to talk too much about Salomon here, but yeah, his ability to, you know, get into the end zone while throwing the ball, because obviously, like we know he can run, we know he can get a lot of yards, and he's very dynamic. But the most impressive thing is he's only thrown one interception, and for a guy who doesn't have the greatest arm, that's kind of insane. But one Niners have a very solid team as well. Charles Presser probably even better as a quarterback than Salomon. It's hard to say which team won at this point. I think it was a closely contested game, but I think one Niners are a bit better, and probably I assume that Ivan Salomon probably had a little bit of regression in this game against a tougher opponent.
Yeah, I mean, you do have Luca Caneville, right, on 1-9ers. Once they see that he can run, once they see that he can run and take off, because he is fast. He is
Yeah,
really fast. So once they see that, I feel like if they make the proper mid-game or halftime adjustments, that they would put Luca Canville rushing him to limit and neutralize his, because a lot of his ability is beating the rusher on one cut and then rolling out left or right and then making either a nice pass or running upfield for 20 yards. I want to say was his like average last game. So yeah, I think if Luca Cainville starts rushing him, shuts down that ability for Yvon Solomon to move the football and really put chains on this offense, I think that Winning Niners come away with it because they have the offensive stars on the offensive side of the ball to put enough points more. But like I think like you going to be a 25-24 game, maybe 31-30 if both teams are clicking. Definitely it's gonna be one game that I'm gonna be refreshing later tonight to see the outcome in this game. That does it for co-ed. We'll move on to our second to last division here, Division D. Jerome, in your opinion, as we look at the Division D standings, which one win team? So you got Bend Don't Break sitting at 1-5, Dirty Slugs, Pack a Punch, Slippery Slopes, all at 1-5. Which one win team has underachieved in your eyes?
I'll give you this answer in two different ways. So first of all, the team that has disappointed the most in terms of like their record is definitely Pack a Punch. I think they're way better than a 1-5 team. Um,
Yep.
Honestly, in my opinion, they're probably more in the realm of a 500 team. Like this is a team that could cause some upsets come in the playoffs. You know, as a lower seeded team, they've lost their games, but they were always in them, and it was close. They just haven't been able to win. And the team that I think is absolutely underachieved compared to expectations, not just in terms of record, but with how they've been playing, is Bend Don't Break, who I've been playing for a little while now. I was covering them back in
Yep.
what was it, Division E last spring?
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
possible? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And I
You were
was
writing
talking
articles,
about,
Divvy. Yeah.
yep, I was. Seems like such a long time ago now, but
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I thought those guys were pretty good back then. Like they weren't like one of the best teams, but they were hanging. They were really improving, and it seems like that maybe the step was a bit too high for them this season. But yeah, there's definitely potential. There's definitely a lot of athleticism on this team, but they just haven't been able to put it all together yet. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I think they're most disappointing.
Yeah, Bend Don't Break. I mean, they went to the finals in Division E last spring when you were covering Division E.
Right?
They did make back, uh, going from Luke Moreau, I believe, to
Yes.
Joseph Sporer. So Moreau more mobile. Sporer questionable decision making at times can make you go whoa, like great throw, and then make you go, oh no, what, why? So a bit of up and down with him, as you see with 14 TDs, 7 INTs. So 2-to-1 ratio, not good for Division D. And then the roster has had a lot of turnover. They brought on Reese Morgan, Tracy, John Michael Anfazi, Louis Messier Lavallée as I think there was like a mix of vacation and a few guys that just couldn't commit to the team anymore, work, vacation, and et cetera, et cetera. So a bit of a motley crew here. I think, yeah, I like you're saying, very athletic. They have the ability to have picked up a few more wins here. If you just take a look at their schedule, they are playing the 1-5 Slippery Slopes, a high-powered offense in Melons, Knights 2.0, and Large Lifestyle. So maybe there's a win there against Slippery Slopes, maybe against Knights 2.0 and Large Lifestyle. So depending on how they end the season here, it could be a do or die, make the playoffs or suffer the defeat of not making playoffs after making a final last spring. We shall see. Uh, Jerome, my God, it is getting late. I am starting to lose my mind here. Jerome, between V Town, Ambush, or Cookie Monsters, uh, which team is on a bigger slide. So V Town started the season 3-1. They've now suffered 3 straight losses, sitting at 3-4. You got Ambush, who started at 2-0. They've gonna be a little complicated, but to phrase this, but they've lost 4 in a row. But one of those losses actually turned into a forfeit victory. But to me, they still lost the game. So even
Right.
though their record is now 3-4, they've technically haven't won a game on the football field in 4 straight. And then you have Cookie Monsters, who are 2-5 after losing 5 of their last 6 games. So who's on the bigger slide here in Division D?
Um, yeah, I mean, Ambush is kind of surprising to me because it's funny, but Phil Roberts is a player we were playing against in Division Four 2 winters ago,
Yeah,
and there was obviously probably definitely a better roster. There was James Drysdale and all that, but it's still a very good roster. There's Kevin Donnet, Ben McMahon, Phil obviously throwing, but it's just weird to me that this team cannot seem to win games with how much talent they have on that roster, and the fact that Phil hasn't necessarily been playing that bad for Division D standards.
yeah,
And obviously there was that Cookie Monsters game where he went 8-0, and that helped a lot. But Phil is not a bad quarterback. He just hasn't been able to show enough consistency, and I wouldn't call it a slide. Well, of course it's a slide, but I wouldn't say this team is necessarily in trouble just yet because there's too much talent on this roster. I'm a bit concerned for Cookie Monsters though.
okay,
Um, Obviously they're my boys. Jeu de Régimbal, Félix Boutet. I just feel like Félix Boutet is not approaching the game the right way as a quarterback. It feels like he's always trying to run, and he's not being patient enough and reading the field the way he should be. And he's always waiting for the rusher, which is kind of ironic. Which is, it's pretty similar to what Jules has been doing. Obviously at a way higher level. Um, but you look at this roster, and it's good, man.
yeah.
Felix, obviously, Jules, which is very very impressive as a receiver. Eight
He's so
touchdowns.
good, man. Yo, he's
Yeah,
really good. I see him balling out on the field, making crazy catches.
yeah. I mean, obviously Arthur Doyon, one of the best, maybe the one of the top five defenders in Division D, and
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it just it just hasn't clicked for Butes so far at the QB position, which is why I'm worried. Um, he just needs to learn the game, and Division D is probably just a bit too good for him at this point.
yeah, yeah. I would have liked to see a bit more steady improvement on his part. I feel like, yeah, I guess it was because he was playing in lower division, so it looked a little easier. But yeah, when I see where you're going with this, because if you have doubts at the quarterback position, then yes, you have doubts on how the team will perform, and you're worried about that slide, losing 5 of their last 6. But yeah, a little strange that the defense has led up 206 points when
Yeah.
considering the talent on the team, like you said. Um, and then to wrap up Division D here, Jerome, between two of the top teams here in Division D, you got the 5-2 Bandits and the 5-2 Jager Bombers. Uh, if these two teams were to face off in a playoff game, single game elimination, who are you taking, Bandits or Jager Bombers?
I'll recall last week you said that you didn't think that bandits were all that, but I think they're good,
No,
man. I
it's just
mean,
it's not that. It's not that. It's just that Emil Scaff should be like seeing everyone else's progression, like is like frustrating, like Boutte is frustrating me. Now, like he
yeah,
should be throwing in Division C by now, but
Right.
Alas, he is 5-2 in Division D. It's good. It's not bad. So how would they fare against a playoff game against Jager Bombers? How do you think?
Uh, I'd go with Bandits just for the fact that they have more experience and that their defense is way more solid than Jager Bombers. Um, for Jager Bombers, Felix Germain-Lajoie is a talented quarterback. He's got a good arm. He can run, but he's got a little. He's caused a little bit like too many turnovers throughout the season, and I think Bandits just have more consistency across the board, like from game to game. I think they're a better team than the Air Bombers at this point.
Yeah, I think Alex Bacalani would be a matchup problem for Bandits. Um, I do like I've seen Angelo Morilados play more and more, and every time I'm very impressed with defense, uh, especially in like man coverage. While I think that Bacalani would end the game maybe with like 4 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown, I think you'd be okay with that result. What you don't want is Bacalani going off for 100 yards, a 2 point convert. I think that's where you could see a lot of damage from him. I agree. The Bandits defense is as opponents Tuesday night in Div D at Marivic would say they were a bit aggressive and handsy. But that's what you get with Bandits, where you don't see the clutching and the grabbing. It's not visible to the ref angles. They're experienced guys. They know where the blind spots of the fields are, and look, they played Pack a Punch 25-26, a victory for them. But like a 1 point victory over Pack a Punch, like you said, Pack a Punch is not as
They're
bad
good,
as a 1-5 team as the record would suggest. But I feel like Bandits is like every game is like a struggle. It's like a deep rooted massage that like someone needs, and they're like coming away with like squeaking out last second victories. I think
but they win.
a but they win. Yes. So I think a game against Jager Bombers, I'd see it very similar to like the Pack a Punch game. I like a 1 point game. It comes off a convert, and they were just better on converts than Jager Bombers would be. But interesting dynamic. Both teams 5-2, having a good season so far. Hoping to make some waves in. And then Jerome, we're gonna wrap up the show this week with again me coming in and out of the show, you leaving as well. Oh, this reminds me. This looks like
Wow.
hot sauce sports colors. I'll show you a jersey I have, but Peas Delaries listening to the show. I don't know if you're listening to Division C, but for those who are hot sauce, Will's playing in Fins Up. Will, hot sauce sports colors, absolutely. All right, Division C, Killer Rays, Jerome.
Yep.
Man, I don't know what is up with Killer Rays. I knew usually it was one bad season, one good season, one bad season, one good season. They struggled Division C last spring, going I believe 2-8. I figured this was the season for them to go 8-2, but through 5 games, no victories for Killer Rays. Very surprising for me. Surprising for you. What's going on with their season? What's the Jerome Hovington analysis here?
Uh, Tyler Bianchi just hasn't been good,
Yeah,
and I'll take you back to Winter 4B, which is granted a bit weaker than Division C, but still like a lot of these teams that were playing Division 4 are now like among the best. And Killer Rays were hanging with them. But Bianchi just 15 touchdowns, 12 interception, 9 sacks. He hasn't had that bad of stats ever.
yeah,
I'll take you back to his first season, Winter 2020. He had 23, 11, and 5. He's, last season in spring 39, in winter 39, 7, and 6. So it's just confusing for me that a team with that much talent, with obviously Tyler Gerber, who has forced me to cover cover him in my articles every time. Even him hasn't been like amazing. Like 251 yards, 7 touchdowns in 4 games. Granted, for those of you who don't know who Tyler Gerberg is, he gets a lot of targets, he gets a lot of yards, he gets a lot of touchdowns, always up there when it comes to the race for
Oh
receiver of
shit.
the year. But it's not the case this season. Like, he's solid,
Oh,
but
shit,
he's
he's
not
an
like
80. He's an 81.2 on offense now. I mean, it
look.
makes sense, but
Last
yeah.
3 seasons, 600 yards, at least 600 yards and 16 touchdowns.
Yeah. No. It's well deserved. He's definitely put up
Yeah,
the stats for it, but it's just it's come quick. Like I remember, I wouldn't have to blink, and he was like a 66, 70 even now. Yeah,
right.
props to him. He's now an 80. He deserves it for sure too.
Yep. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah. For
defense too.
oh, okay,
It's
yeah.
it's everything.
Go on.
Like they've got 3 picks in 5 games.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
like nothing's working. Like everything's just going totally wrong at this point. And I hope they turn it around. They're a great bunch of guys and they have a lot of talent, but it feels like they're just off. They're way better than
Yeah.
than how they've been playing.
Yeah, in at least in their last game against Jagerbomb, you could just tell like one pick just led to another. Like you said earlier with another division that we were covering, it just compounded and Jagerbomb, they're gonna score off turnovers, capitalize off that, and Tyler Bianchi's still going deep and not being too accurate and led to another pick and it just snowballed, right,
Yeah.
and I felt like that game may have been a representation of their overall season so far in Division C. So yeah, it's gotta start. The wins are gonna start when Tyler Bianchi stops turning over the ball and starts playing like he has in his past seasons. Yeah, that's crazy. That this is his
Hmm.
worst statistical season ever, even
Right.
worse than his first ever. That's crazy. Okay, Division C will continue. Air Laval. We haven't talked about this team too much here in Division C. Uh, Jerome, where do you rank Air Laval in the mix here of Division C? Are they an elite contender? Are they a top 3 4 team? Are they just below the top dogs? Are they good but just average? Like where do you what do you think of Air Laval?
Who knows?
Oh, you
There
still
are
don't know. The jury's still out.
there are
Okay.
so many question marks for this team, but they're good question marks. Obviously, Emile Taillefer, for those of you who don't know him, like one of the top receivers in uh, for a couple of years now, and he's trying his hand at quarterback, and he's been good. Not perfect, the 690 yards isn't amazing, but 23 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 4 sacks in 4 games. Like he's scoring the ball a lot, and he's throwing it up. Like he's got a great arm. He can throw it like
I'm
50, 55 yards. It's just he doesn't. He probably doesn't have that accuracy and that like IQ yet to make the decisions comfortably at quarterback. It takes time to get comfortable, but he's built an insane roster, man. Like
yeah.
this roster is crazy. Uh, Obviously, Michael Jordan, uh, 4 games, 271 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's probably the best player in Division C. No, maybe
Yeah.
not. Couple guys,
No?
but he's
Oh.
definitely.
He's
I
amongst
mean,
the
yeah, he's definitely like top three, top four in Division C, and the rest of the squad is good too. Like uh, Amadou Diallo, Jean-Philippe Noth has been good, solid. I don't know where to rank them, but it's definitely in the top half. Uh, but they've been
okay.
getting better as the season has gone along, so I think they'll end the season in the top five discussion.
Yeah, they've proven they can score. And if you can score, yeah, I'd say like comfortably, like they're putting up 41, 28, 38, 44. That's Division C level. So yes, Emil's gonna need a bit more of the reps as, but that's what the regular season is for. But my God, a 7.6 TD to INT ratio is insane. That those are Div A level numbers. So and 62% completing 62% of your passes is really not bad, good. So the sky's the limit for this team. I'd put them just below the top dogs. I'd put them in the ranks of like Friends with Danny, West Island Boys, Rico Riders. I think they slide right there. I think they're right after those like top 5, 6 teams. They could be 7, 8, 9, anywhere in there. But yes, definitely a team that we're gonna want to keep eyes on, and definitely see Emil's progression here. Let's see how fast that progression is, because the first half has been absolutely killer. And then to end it off here, Jerome, Division C, Receiver of the Year. Of course, in Division B, you were too proud and couldn't leave your name out of it. If you were to put yourself out of contention here for Receiver of the Year, who do you predict will win Receiver of the Year in Division C? A lot of names to go around here.
Oh yeah, I'm not even in the conversation. I don't know why you told me to keep my name out of it. There's guys like 15
Keep your
touchdowns already, bro.
name out of the Receiver of the Year conversation.
I'm not there in Division C, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean, top three right now probably Jeff Dallows, Justin Lerner, and Gab Champagne. There's a case for Jordy Melnick, James Langshaw, but and even Marcus Lynch, even AJ
Mm-hmm.
Zapatelli. There's so many good receivers.
There's
Skylar
so many
Bailiff,
names, man. Laplante, like it's that's why it's a very interesting race here. Even
Marvin
Philippe Saint
Steinberg.
Laurent, he doesn't have as many TDs, but he has 445 yards.
Yeah, there's Marvin Steinberg. There's Manuel Leroy, Guillaume Dufresne. Like how many good receivers are in Division C? Too many. This is gonna be like
It's
an insane race. I think Gab Champagne is gonna win it. I think like as Emile Taifar is gonna get more comfortable throwing with him. He's averaging 3 touchdowns per game, almost 100 yards per game. Oh, 90. He's gonna win it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I think paired with, and I think we saw how far Emil can throw the ball
oh
off
yeah,
of like his own 5 yard line, and say, okay, this is going to be a problem for Division C defenses. Like a jump ball from 50 yards downfield to Gab Champagne, like, yeah, you're not winning that battle. So
no,
he's
you're
going to
not.
get a lot of 40 yard touchdown passes for sure. So
18.6,
sheesh, yeah, 18
18.6
point.
yards per reception. Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy, and even those could come from 10 yard ins that he's taking another 8 yards right after the catch because
Yeah.
he's making a defender slip, and the safety's coming down to make that tackle. So all right, so MJ for Jerome's Receiver of the Year in Division C. All right, Jerome, that's it. You did it once again. I left you once again with some internet issues here, but I saw you hold the fort. It wasn't as long this time. I once right away went to unplug and restart my router, so the downtime wasn't as long. I actually timed it. I have 5 minutes and 8 seconds on it now. I didn't start it from the very beginning, so probably add another 3 to 5 minutes there. So it's probably like 10 minutes that you held on your own. Once again, very proud of you, Jerome. Thank you for doing that, Jerome. Any last closing remarks from you in the this week 6 of PF as it comes to an end?
Um, Not really. I think I'm just very worried about my health because I have
Uh
the
oh.
Edouard Montpetit tournament this weekend with
Yes.
at least 3 games on Saturday. And then I have 4 games Sunday night in FPF and maybe the finals in the morning with the tournament. So I'll just go stretch right now and yeah, just telling you guys to stay warmed up and always stretch after the games to
Yeah,
be able to keep playing and not get injured.
Oh, I'm gonna see you there, right?
You're gonna be there?
Oh yeah, I'm playing against you.
Oh, come on, man. I'm gonna beat
Oh
you
yeah,
up 4
baby.
times.
Oh, I don't think so, because that would make you a joker, and
Oh.
that's the team I'm playing for. So I'll see you there, and I'll have MJ on my side. So yeah. So for everyone, Edouard Montpetit, have a great tournament. That's it. That does it for calling the audible week 6. Again, check out that video. No, it's already gone from Mike Persin. If you missed it, too bad. Hopefully, maybe someone screen grabbed it for you. But that's it from Jerome Hovington to Iggy Magnets. We wish you a great week 7 of FPF.
Put the place up, yeah, we know what we made of. Can't get enough of you, boo, I'm a chaser.